Welcome back to Bible Quizzes. We have 80 questions today. Let's get started. 1. Which king of Israel built an ivory palace and houses for himself in Samaria? Ahab, Jeroboam, Omri, or Jehu? Ahab, 1 Kings 22:39. Now the rest of the acts of Ahab, the ivory house which he built, and all the cities that he built, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel? 2. Who was the prophet who declared that a remnant of Israel would return? Isaiah, Micah, Hosea, or Zechariah? Isaiah 7:3. Then the Lord said to Isaiah, Go out now, meet Ahaz at the end of the aqueduct, and take with you Shear-Jashub your son. 3. Who was the prophet who anointed Hazael as king over Syria, predicting that he would be a scourge to Israel? Jonah, Elijah, Elisha, or Noah? Elisha, 2 Kings 8:13. So Hazael said, But what is your servant, a dog, that he should do this gross thing? And Elisha answered, The Lord has shown me that you'll become king over Syria. 4. Who was the prophet that foresaw a vision of 4 chariots emerging between 2 bronze mountains? Zechariah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, or Daniel? Zechariah 6:1-5. Then I turned and raised my eyes and looked, and behold, 4 chariots were coming from between 2 mountains, and the mountains were mountains of bronze. These are the 4 spirits of heaven who go out from their station before the Lord of all the earth. 5. Who is a prophet that threw his mantle over Elisha, symbolizing the transfer of his authority? Samuel, Ahimelech, Abiathar, or Elijah? Elijah, 1 Kings 19:19-21. Then Elijah passed by him and threw his mantle on him. So Elisha turned back from him and took a yoke of oxen and slaughtered them. Then he arose and followed Elijah and became his servant. 6. Who is the Babylonian official who released Jehoiakim, the exiled king of Judah, from prison? Evil-Merodach, Belshazzar, Miriam, or Cyrus? Evil-Merodach, 2 Kings 25:27-28. Now it came to pass in the 37th year of the captivity of Jehoiakim that Evil-Merodach, king of Babylon, in the year that he began to reign, released Jehoiakim, king of Judah, from prison, and he set his throne above the throne of the kings who were with him in Babylon. 7. Who was a prophet that saw a vision of a plumb line? Habakkuk, Amos, Isaiah, or Nahum? Amos 7:7-8. Thus he showed me, behold, the Lord stood on a wall made with a plumb line in his hand, and the Lord said to me, Amos, what do you see? And I said, a plumb line. 8. In the book of Daniel, who was a Babylonian official who was struck down by an angel? Belshazzar, Darius, Herod, or Beersheba? Herod, Acts 12:21-23. So on a set day Herod gave an oration to them, and the people kept shouting, the voice of a god and not of a man. Then immediately an angel of the Lord struck him, because he did not give glory to God. 9. Who is the king of Babylon that drank from the sacred vessels of the Jerusalem temple during a feast? Enoch, Belshazzar, Darius, or Hophni? Belshazzar, Daniel 5:1-5. Belshazzar the king made a great feast for 1,000 of his lords. They drank wine and praised the gods of gold and silver. In the same hour the fingers of a man's hand appeared and wrote opposite the lampstand on the plaster of the wall. 10. Who was the priest that found a sword in the temple and used it to kill Queen Athaliah? Abiathar, Jehoiada, Zadok, or Hilkiah? Jehoiada, 2 Kings 11:15-16. And Jehoiada the priest commanded the captains of the hundreds, take her outside under guard, and slay with the sword whoever follows her. For the priest had said, do not let her be killed in the house of the Lord. 11. What's the name of the priestly town where Dog and the Edomite killed 85 priests? Shiloh, Nob, Bethel, or Hebron? Nob, 1 Samuel 22:18-19. And the king said to Dog, you turn and kill the priests. So Dog the Edomite turned and struck the priests and killed on that day 85 men who wore a linen ephod. Also Nob, the city of the priests, he struck with the edge of the sword. 12. Where did Samuel set up a stone called after the Israelites' victory over the Philistines? Ebenezer, Ramah, Mizpah, or Bethel? Ebenezer, 1 Samuel 7:12. Then Samuel took a stone and set it up between Mizpah and Shen, and called its name Ebenezer, saying, thus far the Lord has helped us. 13. Who is a prophet that witnessed the Lord in a vision, seated on his throne with a train of his robe? Ezekiel, Baasha, Isaiah, or Aholiab? Isaiah 6:1-5. I saw the Lord sitting on a throne, high and lifted up, and the train of his robe filled the temple. So I said, woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips. 14. In which year of King Solomon's reign did the construction of the temple in Jerusalem begin? 4th, 6th, 5th, or 7th? Fourth, 1 Kings 6:1. And it came to pass in the 480th year after the children of Israel had come out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, that he began to build the house of the Lord. 15. What was the specific measurement of Noah's Ark as described in cubits? 300 by 50 by 30, 250 by 40 by 50, 200 by 60 by 40, or 350 by 55 by 35? 300 by 50 by 30, Genesis 6:15, and this is how you shall make it. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, its width 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits. 16. What was the name of the valley where Achan was stoned to death for stealing from the spoils of Jericho? Achor, Hinnom, Jezreel, or Esdraelon? Achor. Joshua 7:25-26. And Joshua said, why have you troubled us? The Lord will trouble you this day. So all Israel stoned him with stones, and they raised over him a great heap of stones. Therefore the name of that place has been called the Valley of Achor to this day. 17. Who was the only woman mentioned in the Bible as having been executed by burning? Athaliah, Tamar, Jezebel, or Michal? Tamar, Genesis 38:24. And it came to pass about 3 months after that, Judah was told, saying, Tamar your daughter-in-law has played the harlot. Furthermore, she is with child by harlotry. So Judah said, bring her out and let her be burned. 18. Why was the location of where Achan was stoned to death for stealing from the spoils of Jericho significant? It was named because of the trouble Achan brought upon Israel. Joshua 7:25-26. And Joshua said, why have you troubled us? The Lord will trouble you this day. So all Israel stoned him with stones, and they raised over him a great heap of stones. Therefore the name of that place has been called the Valley of Achor to this day. 19. On what day of the Hebrew calendar was the Passover lamb to be slain? 77th, 14th, 11th, or 2nd? 14th, Exodus 12:6. Now you shall keep it until the 14th day of the same month. Then the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it at twilight. 20. What was the name of the mountain where Saul and his sons died in battle? Mount Sinai, Mount Gilboa, Mount Ararat, or Mount Carmel? Mount Gilboa, 1 Samuel 31:8. So it happened the next day when the Philistines came to strip the slain that they found Saul and his 3 sons fallen on Mount Gilboa. 21. Where were the retrieved bones of King Saul and his sons from the Philistines buried? Jabesh, Bethel, Hebron, or Gaza? Jabesh, 1 Samuel 31:12-13. All the valiant men arose and traveled all night, and took the body of Saul and the bodies of his sons from the wall of Beth-shan, and they buried them under the tamarisk tree at Jabesh, and fasted 7 days. 22. Which prophet witnessed a vision of a basket of ripe summer fruit symbolizing the end of Israel? Hosea, Micah, Joel, or Amos? Amos 8:2, and he said, Amos, what do you see? So I said, a basket of summer fruit. Then the Lord said to me, the end has come upon my people Israel. I will not pass by them anymore. 23. How many years did King Jehoiakim of Judah spend in captivity before being released by evil Merodach? 36, 41, 37, or 42? (37) 2 Kings 25:27. Now it came to pass in the 37th year of the captivity of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, that evil Merodach, king of Babylon, in the year that he began to reign, released Jehoiakim, king of Judah, from prison. 24. What was the name of the tower that the people of Shinar attempted to build? Tower of Babel, Tower of Jericho, Tower of Babylon, or Tower of Bethel? Tower of Babel, Genesis 11:4-9. Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower whose top is in the heavens, but the Lord confused their language. Therefore its name is called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth. 25. Who was the man whose donkey spoke to him, rebuking him for his reckless path? Eliezer, Balaam, Jethro, or Gehazi? Balaam, Numbers 22:28-30. Then the Lord opened the mouth of the donkey, and she said to Balaam, What have I done to you, that you have struck me these 3 times? 26. What was the name of the priest who raised Samuel in the temple? Aaron, Zadok, Eli, or Jehoiada? Eli, 1 Samuel 4:11. Also the ark of God was captured, and the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, died. 27. On what specific day of the 7th month did the Israelites celebrate the Feast of Trumpets? 2nd day of the 7th month, 1st day of the 7th month, 1st day of the 11th month, or 17th day of the 7th month? First day of the 7th month. Leviticus 23:24. Speak to the children of Israel, saying, In the 7th month of the 1st day of the month, you shall have a Sabbath rest, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, a holy convocation. 28. Who was the prophet that confronted King Ahab about seizing Naboth's vineyard? Elisha, Isaiah, Jeremiah, or Elijah? Elijah, 1 Kings 21:19. You shall speak to him, saying, Thus says the Lord, have you murdered and also taken possession? In the place where dogs licked the blood of Naboth, dogs shall lick your blood, even yours. 29. What was the purpose of the Urim and Thummim that were placed in the breastplate of the high priest? They were used to determine God's will in difficult decisions. Exodus 28:30. And you shall put it in the breastplate of judgment, the Urim and the Thummim, and they shall be over Aaron's heart when he goes in before the Lord. 30. Who was the king of Babylon that captured the last king of Judah, Zedekiah? Nebuchadnezzar, Darius, Belshazzar, or Cyrus? Nebuchadnezzar, 2 Kings 25:7. Then they killed the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes, put out the eyes of Zedekiah, bound him with bronze fetters, and took him to Babylon. 31. Who was the scribe that read the law to the people of Judah after it had been rediscovered? Ezra, Hilkiah, Shaphan, or Barak? Shaphan. 2 Kings 22:11. Now it happened, when the king heard the words of the book of the law, that he tore his clothes. 32. What was the name of the prophetess who recognized the infant Jesus as Messiah? Deborah, Miriam, Anna, or Huldah? Anna, Luke 2:36-38. And this woman was a widow of about 84 years. She gave thanks to the Lord and spoke of him to all those who looked for redemption in Jerusalem. 33. What city did God promise to give to the Israelites after Joshua's death? Jerusalem, Bethel, Hebron, or Ai? Ai. Joshua 7:4-5. So about 3,000 men went up there from the people, but they fled before the men of Ai. 34. What was Rahab's profession? Midwife, judge, prophetess, or harlot? Harlot. Joshua 2:1. So they went and came to the house of a harlot named Rahab and lodged there. 35. What was the name of the mountain where Moses viewed the promised land before his death? Mount Carmel, Mount Ararat, Mount Nebo, or Mount Hermon? Mount Nebo. Deuteronomy 34:1. Then Moses went up from the plains of Moab to Mount Nebo, to the top of Pisgah, and the Lord showed him all the land. 36. In which book of the Bible is the story of Samson's downfall found? Judges, 2 Kings, 1 Samuel, or Exodus? Judges. Judges 16:17. That he told her all his heart, and said to her, No razor has ever come upon my head, for I have been a Nazirite to God from my mother's womb. 37. Who was the man who rebuilt the walls of Jerusalem after returning from Babylonian exile? Zerubbabel, Ezra, Nehemiah, or unnamed? Nehemiah. Nehemiah 6:15. So the wall was finished in 52 days. 38. Who was the Persian queen who risked her life to save the Jews from annihilation? Esther, Bathsheba, Vashti, or Ruth? Esther. Esther 4:16. I'll go to the king which is against the law, and if I perish, I perish. 39. What was the name of the place where Jacob wrestled with God? Bethel, Shechem, Peniel, or Haran? Peniel. Genesis 32:30. So Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. 40. Who was the prophet who foretold the destruction of Nineveh? Abimelech, Nahum, Joash, or Jether? Nahum. Nahum 1:1. The burden against Nineveh, the book of the vision of Nahum the Elkoshite. 41. In which book of the Bible does God use a locust plague to symbolize a future invasion? Joel, Zephaniah, Amos, or Habakkuk? Joel 2:25. So I'll restore to you the years that swarming locust has eaten, my great army which I sent among you. 42. Who was the king of Judah who reigned at 8 years old and initiated a nationwide religious reform? Jehoash, Josiah, Hezekiah, or Manasseh? Josiah, 2 Kings 22:8. Then Hilkiah the high priest said to Shaphan the scribe, I have found the book of the law in the house of the Lord. 43. What was the name of the object that Gideon made after his military victory? An ephod, sacred altar, a golden calf, or a serpent? An ephod, Judges 8:27. Then Gideon made it into an ephod and set it up in his city, and all Israel played the harlot with it there. It became a snare to Gideon and to his house. 44. Which prophet married a prostitute as a symbol of God's relationship with Israel? Hosea, Amos, Ezekiel, or Abiathar? Hosea 1:2-9. Go take yourself a wife of harlotry, and she bore him a son. Then the Lord said to him, call his name Jezreel. 45. What book was discovered during King Josiah's reign? The Book of the Law, 2 Kings 22:8. Then Hilkiah the high priest said to Shaphan the scribe, I found the book of the law in the house of the Lord. 46. Who was a Levite that cut his concubine into 12 pieces and sent them to the tribes of Israel? Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, or unnamed? Unnamed. Judges 19:29-30. When he entered his house, he took a knife, laid hold of his concubine, and divided her into 12 pieces. And so it was that all who saw it said, such a thing has never been seen. 47. In what year of King Uzziah's reign did the prophet Isaiah receive his vision of the Lord in the temple? 5th year, last year, 4th year, or 1st year? Last year. Isaiah 6:1. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting on a throne, high and lifted up, and the train of his robe filled the temple. 48. In which Old Testament book is the covenant of salt mentioned? Leviticus, Exodus, Numbers, or Genesis? Numbers 18:19. It is a covenant of salt forever before the Lord, with you and your descendants with you. 49. What was the name of the first altar that Moses built in the wilderness? Jehovah Nissi, Jehovah Mas, Bethel, or El Elohe? Jehovah Nissi, Exodus 17:15. And Moses built an altar and called its name, The Lord is my banner. 50. In what specific location did David hide from Saul? Cave of Carmel, Forest of Hereth, Cave of Ziph, or Cave of En-Gedi? Cave of En-Gedi. 1 Samuel 24:4. Then David arose and secretly cut off a corner of Saul's robe. 51. What was the name of the bronze serpent that Moses made? Tannin, Leviathan, Nehushtan, or Behemoth? Nehushtan. 2 Kings 18:4. He removed the high places and broke the sacred pillars and broke in pieces the bronze serpent that Moses had made. 52. Who was the king of Judah whose alliance with King Ahab led to his near death in battle? Asa, Hezekiah, Uzziah, or Jehoshaphat? Jehoshaphat. 2 Chronicles 19:2. And Jehu the son of Hanani the seer went out to meet him, and said to the king Jehoshaphat, should you help the wicked and love those who hate the Lord? 53. What was the name of the prophet who served as an advisor to King Hezekiah during the Assyrian invasion? Jeremiah, Micah, Isaiah, or Hosea? Isaiah, 2 Kings 19:35. And it came to pass that the angel of the Lord went out and killed in the camp of the Assyrians 185,000. 54. What was the significance of Jehovah Nissi, the altar Moses built? Commemorated the victory over the Amalekites. Exodus 17:15. And Moses built an altar and called its name, The Lord is my banner. 55. Who was a prophet who prophesied the rebuilding of the temple in Jerusalem? Ezra, Haggai, Zechariah, or Malachi? Haggai, Haggai 1:8, Go up to the mountain and bring wood and build a temple that I may take pleasure in it and be glorified. 56. Who was the apostle that rebuked Simon the sorcerer for offering money to receive the Holy Spirit? Peter, John, Paul, or Barnabas? Peter, Acts 8:21, You have neither part nor portion in this matter, for your heart is not right in the sight of God. 57. Who was the only king of Israel to defeat both the Ammonites and the Syrians? Jehoaz, Jehu, Menahem, or Jeroboam? Menahem. 2 Kings 15:19-20. Then Pul, king of Assyria, came against the land, and Menahem gave Pul 1,000 talents of silver. So the king of Assyria turned back and did not stay there in the land. 58. What was the name of the well where Hagar received the promise of Ishmael's descendants? Beer Lahai-roi, Rehoboth, Elim, or Kadesh? Beer Lahai-roi. Genesis 16:13-14. Then she called the name of the Lord who spoke to her. You are the God who sees. Therefore the well was called Beer Lahai-roi. 59. What was the name of the prophet who rebuked King Amaziah of Judah for hiring mercenaries from Israel? Nathan, Gad, Shemaiah, or unnamed? Unnamed. 2 Chronicles 25:7. But a man of God came to him, saying, O king, do not let the army of Israel go with you, for the Lord is not with Israel. 60. What item did Jael use to kill Sisera? A tent peg, stone, sword, or bow? Tent peg. Judges 4:21. Then Jael took a tent peg and a hammer in her hand and drove the peg into his temple. 61. Who was the left-handed judge of Israel that killed King Eglon of Moab? Othniel, Gideon, Ehud, or Micah? Ehud. Judges 3:21. Then Ehud reached with his left hand, took the dagger from his right thigh, and thrust it into his belly. 62. Who hid 2 Israelite spies on a roof in Jericho? Rahab, Tamar, Naomi, or Deborah? Rahab. Joshua 2:4. Then the woman took the 2 men and hid them. 63. Who built an altar and called it Jehovah Shalom? Moses, Joshua, Aaron, or Gideon? Gideon. Judges 6:24. So Gideon built an altar there to the Lord and called it the Lord is Peace. 64. What object did Aaron's rod produce as a sign of his priesthood? Olives, figs, grapes, or almonds? Almonds. Numbers 17:18. Behold, the rod of Aaron had sprouted and put forth buds, had produced blossoms, and yielded ripe almonds. 65. Who was the high priest that placed the Urim and Thummim inside the breastplate of judgment? Eli, Aaron, Samuel, or Joshua? Aaron. Exodus 28:30. And you shall put in the breastplate of judgment the Urim and the Thummim. 66. Which prophet made an iron yoke to symbolize the Babylonian captivity? Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, or Amos? Jeremiah. Jeremiah 28:14. For thus says the Lord, I put a yoke of iron on the neck of all these nations. 67. Who was struck dead for touching the Ark of the Covenant? Abinadab, Uzzah, Eleazar, or Nadab? Uzzah. 2 Samuel 6:7. Then the anger of the Lord was aroused against Uzzah, and he died there by the Ark of God. 68. Who was the first priest mentioned in the Bible? Aaron, Uriah, Melchizedek, or Eli? Melchizedek, Jeremiah 26:20-23. Now there was also a man who prophesied in the name of the Lord, Uriah the son of Shemaiah of Kirjath. Jeram, King Jehoiakim, killed him with the sword and cast his dead body into the graves of the common people. 69. In which city did David recover the Ark of the Covenant after its return from the Philistines? Kirjath Jearim, Jerusalem, Kirjath Moriah, or Bethel? Kirjath Jearim, 1 Samuel 7:1. Then the men of Kirjath Jearim came and took the ark of the Lord and brought it into the house of Abinadab. 70. Who hid 100 prophets of the Lord in caves during Jezebel's persecution? Elisha, Hazael, Jehu, or Obadiah? Obadiah, 1 Kings 18:4. For so it was while Jezebel massacred the prophets of the Lord that Obadiah had taken 100 prophets and hidden them 50 to a cave. 71. Who threw a piece of wood into the water at Merah to make the bitter water sweet? Tyre, Joshua, Aaron, or Moses? Moses, Exodus 15:25. So he cried out to the Lord, and the Lord showed him a tree. When he cast it into the water made sweet. 72. Where did Abraham build an altar and call upon the name of the Lord after separating from Lot? Shechem, Bethel, Hebron, or Haran? Hebron, Genesis 13:18. Then Abram moved his tent and went and dwelt by the terebinth trees of Mamre, which are in Hebron, and built an altar there to the Lord. 73. Who was the king of Judah when Babylon first laid siege to Jerusalem? Zedekiah, Jehoiakim, Hezekiah, or Manasseh? Jehoiakim, 2 Kings 24:1. In his days, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up, and Jehoiakim became his vassal for 3 years. 74. What was the name of the place where Moses struck the rock to bring water for the Israelites? Merah, Elim, Meribah, or Rephidim? Meribah. Numbers 20:13. This was the water of Meribah, because the children of Israel contended with the Lord. 75. What specific item did Gideon destroy that belonged to his father, causing an uproar in his town? Altar of Baal, golden calf, Asherah pole, or sacred ephod? Altar of Baal. Judges 6:25. Tear down the altar of Baal that your father has and cut down the wooden image that is beside it. 76. Who told King Ahab that he would be killed in battle despite Ahab's attempt to disguise himself? Nathan, Isaiah, Micaiah, or Jeremiah? Micaiah, 1 Kings 22:28. Micaiah said, "If you ever return in peace, the Lord has not spoken by me." 77. What city did Abraham pray for, asking God to spare it if there were even 10 righteous people? Nineveh, Gomorrah, Jericho, or Sodom? Sodom, Genesis 18:32. Then he said, "Let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak but once more. Suppose 10 should be found there." 78. What specific object did Elisha throw into the Jordan River to make an axe head float? His mantle, a stone, a stick, or bread? A stick. 2 Kings 6:6. So the man of God said, "Where did it fall?" And he showed him the place, so he cut off a stick and threw it in there, and he made the iron float. 79. Who prayed for rain to stop for 3.5 years and then prayed again for it to return? Jeremiah, John, Elijah, or James? Elijah, James 5:17-18. Elijah was a man with a nature like ours, and he prayed earnestly that it would not rain, and it did not rain on the land for 3 years and 6 months. 80. Who deceived Jacob by giving him Leah instead of Rachel as his wife? Esau, Jeremiah, Isaac, or Laban? Laban, Genesis 29:25. So it came to pass in the morning that behold, it was Leah, and he said to Laban, "What is this you have done to me?" And that's all our questions for today, so let us know how you did down below with your score, and then share this with your friends and family to compete with them, and then we'll see you guys in the next one.